Hey everybody, this is Evan Abrams, and today on the vlog we're going to talk about when is it better to make things with your hands and when is it better to make them instead in post. So this comes down to a decision between basically doing things live on the day or using techniques that are, really what they are, as opposed to just faking it using After Effects and other programs. Of course, I always think that it's better to incorporate real textures and real things into your post-production process. Like if you're going to say needs smoke to be put in post-production, I think it's better to use real smoke elements than it is to rely on particle-generated smoke elements. But again, that depends on whether you're able to acquire the correct thing to fill in that space. But when it comes down to things like we've been talking about this month in Lo-Fi July, like faking having film or faking titles that are old cutouts or, faking any of these things that would have been decades ago made, then it's usually better to do them in post. So for example, the process of actually going out and filming something on film, and this is a good time to talk about correcting everyone who says film when they really mean to say video, because I don't think anyone has made a film in a really long time because it is not on film. I'm making video that is digital and it's a different thing. So we might as well start saying video. Anyway, the process and expense of making something on film is astronomical. So first you have to be able to source and buy the film. That means you have to find it. That means someone has to be making it. And then when you go out and shoot it, you can't reshoot on it. So once it's spent, it's done. And then you won't really know what you have until you look at it in a dark room. And then that's a bit of a process. Then you have to select the best of it and develop it, which is a lot of chemicals and getting kind of high in a dark room. And it's a long day. It's a long lots of days, actually. And it's an expensive lots of days. In this way, post-production is actually saving you time and money by allowing you to do all these things. But you knew that already. And the same with titles, like we showed, that it's a little bit better to go ahead and fake that because it took us, like 10 minutes to do what would have been quite a bit of cutting out of things and animating things and stop motion animating them at that, which is definitely annoying. But there are things that you are going to want to do that are handmade, and they're better done handmade. So it all comes down to the artistic complexity of what you're doing, and when is it a better artistic choice to just use your hands for these things. For example, when I was talking about stop motion titles, that means you have to go out and you have to find a font and all that stuff, but sometimes it'd just be simpler if you just drew the font you want with your hands. So instead of wasting all of your time looking for something to fit in a certain space, it's easier to just draw it in that space. Just draw it. Just draw that thing. And this brings us to the real main reason I would ever recommend somebody do something with their hands, and that is because it is just enjoyable to draw and make things. You get a big sense of self-satisfaction when you actually take raw materials and you make them into something, and I know there's a bit of that when you make something digital, but I find that when it's something like physical and I can actually move it and touch it, then it is definitely a lot more fulfilling to have that physical thing done and made. So in the instance of stop motion animation, again, because I go back to that a lot, I'm kind of thinking about it quite a lot recently, but anyway, in that instance, there are things that you can do with tiny little models and miniatures that you just can't accomplish by using CG. So that's just one of those things where the texture simply is too difficult to create in post, and it would be way simpler if you would just make it with your hands. Anyway, these are just things to think about in your production of film or video or whatever it is you make and other commercial applications. And often these considerations are just a consideration of time versus payoff. And if you're doing this as a business or as a hobby, time is a huge factor because in business, time is billings, and you might have a set amount of billings to go through an entire project, and if you can save time, you can apply yourself in other areas to make it better. And if it's a hobby, well, you probably have loved ones who are really sick of you spending all of your time on this one hobby. I don't know, it happens. Some people want you to go to the farmer's market instead of working on your vlog, all day. But whatever. Hopefully this has been some thought-provoking stuff for you in your pre-production process, so you'll be able to consider, which elements of my process are better done in post and which ones are done better and more effectively just doing them live. So again, I'm Evan Abrams. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy vlogs and VFX and motion graphics and After Effects, then subscribe to this channel because that's what we do up in here. And there's a new tutorial every week, and sometimes there's a new vlog every week, not always. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching. Subscribe to the channel, comment on here with what you think about making things with your hands, and I'll see you next time. Oh, and if you have things you want to talk to me about, just hit me up on the Twitter if you have any questions about things in general, or hit me up on the Facebook page. That's a thing, and there's a link to those in the description. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.